Hey, so I started this week's column with a question: do players earn get routes, be given on field time, and then earn targets and therefore become fantasy relevant? Or do they earn targets on minimal routes or fewer routes, impress the team, therefore get more routes to earn more targets and move forward? And I think the overall answer, and the one I gave in my short form column in both Patreon and DLF, was basically yes. Both happen. Over time, we've seen both instances happen. So you've kind of got to chase everything. We're kind of using best case scenarios and worst case scenarios to predict a player's range of outcomes based on the context, or in other words, the narratives around the team. Where was the player drafted? How well they did in college? What is the team situation right now, and what might they want? So there's really no one cure. So whether you're looking at Quentin Johnson right now, who did earn a bump in snap share last week with 51%, or a player like Michael Wilson, who spent 3 years earning around 3 games in 2023, earning 18% of the team's overall routes, which was an impressive number, even for a third round pick to get on the field with just behind Rondell Moore and Marcus Brown, with Mr. Dobbs at the helm, and then had a week 4 blow up. Both can happen, and we really are just chasing volume of all sorts and trying to define the best context and situation outside of that to make it seem like we can do prophecy. Simply put, we can't, and we just have to pay close attention, try and react strongly in the right direction, balancing our risk on those range of outcomes. And I think that's really important in Dynasty as we go through this weekly game to try and find the right places to be on average to improve our teams more going forward. Not at the expense of our league mates, but in the right direction for all of our teams so that we all get a chance to try to win. I think operating that way in Dynasty gives you the best chance to improve your team, win more often, get in the right places more often, but also have a league that's got an active market that can actually serve you when you need it in either direction, whether you're a contending or a building team. In these videos on YouTube, I still want to keep it short, like I'm doing with the waiver wire, like I'm doing with the Patreon article, my DLF article every week, just to give you insights, short snippets. If you want more information, check out those articles because I go into a little bit more depth there. You can hit me up on the Patreon Discord or Patreon itself. You can hit me up on our Twitter DM at Pahowdy. If you want even more information, you can dig into all my weekly data, which is pinned to my Patreon timeline, and it's pinned to my Twitter timeline, and it's out there on Threads as well. It's a free Google Sheet that produces a table for you, as well as having all the weekly stats that you can grind through yourself if you want more information on anything I say or anything I didn't say for that matter. So feel free to check out all those resources. For right now, what I want to talk about are the players I am trying to send trade offers on in every Dynasty League, names, and then an alternative option for that might be a little more underrated. And then I want to talk about players I'm holding on based on the current Dynasty trends, and also some players I would be selling right now that have significant value in Dynasty to try and make all this work. Let's get into it. The first player I'm trying to send an offer on in Dynasty Leagues, any Dynasty League, whether I'm contending or not, is actually a running back. We can chase running back in Dynasty, even on building teams. Essentially, there's a small, like a 2-year value difference in terms of age in Dynasty, where if a running back is 2 years younger than a wide receiver, you can essentially start valuing them the same way. It's not an edge we try to exploit a lot, but because it's really in the off-season that I chase running backs, because I see running backs as really a 1-year proposition in general, but there are occasional exceptions which are also potential value gains as well as points gains, and so pretty much they work for all teams. Right now, that's Breece Hall. He had a low week last week and actually decreased in rushing share a little bit, but there are reports of him actually not being on a snap count anymore. And the positive from this week's data in week 4 was that he actually had 17 routes. That's up from 11 routes last week and 9 routes the week before. So we're still seeing the progression in the workload, and I think we just have one more week before his full workload is back, and Breece Hall is back to being a top 12 Dynasty running back. And he has a very unique skill set from college, and we've seen it in the NFL, and we saw it in week 1 on a smaller usage as well, when he put up over 15 points. And this is a window to potentially get one of those elite running backs at a younger age, and he's in a small window right now because the points haven't quite been there. The alternative, since Breece Hall's a fairly big name, Javonte Williams, who has been a big name himself, suffered an injury this week, and Jaleel McLaughlin is a waiver wire pickup. If you didn't pick him up in my last article from the Ranks versus ADP article that we talked about my DLF article that I produced in the last week of the off-season also mentioned Jaleel McLaughlin. But if you didn't pick him up and if you didn't get him on the waiver wire and he's a very potential start this week because Javonte Williams didn't practice, Javonte Williams missing time is still uncertain. Again, he missed practice this week. He's probably not playing in this game, so far projections say. But he's not done for the season, and he was growing in that offense with the most significant share of that offense. Now, while I enjoy C.J. Anderson-like narratives and Jaleel McLaughlin, and again, it all depends on your league market, the guy in your league that has Javonte Williams is building or is contending, and they're willing to trade for points, or they're willing to trade for maybe a little less value, because Javonte Williams has been disappointing and then hurt, I think he's an interesting alternative to try and get a younger, not young, running back in the middle of his career that has serious potential to have top 12 volume at some point. Although we've been saying that for a while on Javonte Williams, I think this might be a window where someone in a league is just ready to get out of it. Again, in general, especially when trading for running backs, I'm trying not to give picks unless I'm a contending team desperately going for the win, and then we go a year out if we can. But temperature checking the guy with Javonte Williams in your league might be interesting as an alternative to Breece Hall. The tight end I target in every Dynasty league is fairly obvious, and I don't think you're getting him because he's basically valued like a top tier wide receiver right now, and rightly so. That's Sam Laporta. I mostly mention it just because every league is different, and some people might be a little less sure of a rookie tight end doing this well. I'm fully in. We really liked him in the rookie process. Everything backs up the numbers. Detroit is doing excellent this year, and it looks like a really strongly built team, even if it has a little weakness at QB there. And if you can get Javonte Williams, if you can get Sam Laporta in any Dynasty situation post-rookie draft, unfortunately that's the best place to get him, I would. But I think he's already going to be valued like Amon-Ra St. Brown right now, and I don't really want to invest that value. But just in case your league mates aren't as quick to react on the value of rookies, I wanted to throw his name out. The alternative, Jake Ferguson, finished in the top 12 the last 3 weeks. He is also, I think, a sophomore tight end, and again, we mentioned him in this offseason, where ranks were a little higher on him than ADP consistently throughout the last 3 months before the season started, and he's performing really well. Dallas is missing a lot of touchdowns, and some of that comes from Jake Ferguson, who has a pretty substantial red zone presence. He is outkicking his coverage in yards per route run. He's being a little too efficient, but again, sometimes efficiency can lead to slightly more routes. And his route share isn't bad right now, especially for a tight end in the top 12. We're not talking Sam Laporta upside here, but we're talking a young tight end doing fairly well, who can score you points, and maybe has more value for the long haul. A second alternative, by the way, on purely building teams, Greg Dulcich. He was injured in week 1 or just after week 1. I forget right now because my memory only lasts for about 30 seconds. If you're a pure building team, whoever has Greg Dulcich or held him or traded from the offseason has got to be disappointed with one bad game after a promising rookie season. So I actually sent out some offers and actually got him in one league where I'm purely building, looking to next year, and I added a 25 first to Greg Dulcich and got, for a this year points getter, I got both, and I think that's an interesting third alternative at tight end. I'm a little obsessed with the position. Yeah. At quarterback, CJ Stroud. Just in case you don't know, I value him in the Joe Burrow tier now. I don't value him over Joe Burrow. I don't value him over Tua Tagovailoa. I don't value him over especially that elite tier with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts. And Justin Herbert's making a strong case to get back into that tier, by the way, but for now he's still in that second tier. But CJ Stroud should definitely be in that tier. It's not just that he's put up over 20 points every game, because, Sam Darnold and Carson Wentz had good games in their rookie season as well. It's that everything fits together. From his college profile to his performance on the field. He's not outkicking his coverage. He's not based on a high touchdown rate like Jordan Love. He is just playing incredibly well at the NFL level. And doing that so early in his rookie career is just one last tick in the box to think this guy is going to be in that tier moving forward. And if your league mates haven't moved that strongly this quickly on CJ Stroud, there's maybe a small window of opportunity before they fill in that blank and realizing he should be there. And he's one of the few rookie QBs that escalates in value so quickly that I really went in on. So CJ Stroud is it. But again, his value's probably already bounced up in your league, but just in case. The alternative, Joe Burrow. It is time to sit Joe Burrow and redraft until we see something else so far, and there's no substantial reason for it, but all the stats I can look at just suggest it has been bad. He's playing badly, the team is not working right now. But I don't think that lasts forever. We can spin narratives like confidence or lingering injuries in his ankle or whatever else, but for whatever reason he's playing bad right now. I don't think he plays this badly forever. And if your league mate is contending or just tilting on the Joe Burrow success, then you can find a potential window to add Joe Burrow at slightly lower value, and I do believe he will get back to his point scoring ways eventually. So this is a small window and an alternative to going for CJ Stroud in all Dynasty leagues. For the wide receiver position, picking one is hard because we always have too many loves at wide receiver. But Jordan Addison is my all-buy. I'm sending offers of Jordan Addison in any league I don't have him, just in general. Last week, I kind of jinxed him because I called him out in my weekly column, and then he had a 0 last week in week 4. But he still ran 17% of the team's routes. And I am fearless in very few things in fantasy football, but my Jordan Addison advocacy is in fact one of them. So yeah, it's going to be fine moving forward. My alternative to that, Tank Dell. He is the volume. Nico Collins is still interesting for a different reason that I'll say later. But Tank Dell, while he's not got Jordan Addison's range of outcomes, he's got a solid top 24 wide receiver in his range of outcomes. And he too went up to like 20% of the routes last week. He's been earning targets. Last week was a bit of a down week. Nico Collins has got the athleticism and the impressive profile that so many like. But the reason we chase volume is that down weeks are more likely to be temporary, and the consistency of their actual production is more likely to continue. So a down week for Tank Dell as a rookie who's been doing very well this year is a potential window to add a lower level wide receiver, but still a lot of good in his profile, a lot of potential points for the next few years. There are some players this year that I'm just holding in Dynasty in all situations. Zay Flowers, I can't make another positive case for a Baltimore wide receiver. I think I'll be evicted from the fantasy football community. But the volume is all there. But the team works when it runs. And we see Marcus Brown been hampered for a number of years before that one passing attempt blow up year, and he finally went off before going to Arizona. Rashad Bateman can't get healthy, and I advocated for him way too strongly, it turns out, for the last 6 months or so. But Zay Flowers holds all the volume. He is doing well. The team situation is not ideal for fantasy points, but Zay Flowers was not someone I was particularly high on as a rookie, but really impressed me in terms of his ability to co-opt that offense in his rookie season. So I'm probably just holding right now, but I wanted to throw it out there. Tutu Atwell is the other guy I'm just holding. I don't really want to sell at his value. And again, this is all, unless someone in my league is high and really wants to invest and is giving fair value on a good trade. But in general, I'm not throwing Tutu Atwell away. I kind of believe in the third year breakout here. The only real argument against him is height, and that's why I liked him in his rookie season. He was productive, he was good in college, he got good draft capital, people just didn't like his height. So I kind of believe the third year breakout. I'm just holding right now because I don't think the value is there to trade him away. I think he's fairly startable this year on a weekly basis for most Dynasty teams, and I just want to hold on to that this year. I kind of believe in the third year breakout though. Josh Downs is someone I'm holding as well. I don't think his value has moved much since the rookie draft, but again, he's having a positive rookie season with not a lot of fantasy impact so far, but it's a profile I really believed in, and again, if someone in my league has got Josh Downs and it's not me and they're low on him, I would Tank Dell it. I would go send an offer. But mostly I think his value is just stable so far. So I'm waiting and hoping for a window. And it's the same if I'm rostering him. I don't think trading him away right now is a particularly good idea. So I'm just holding that guy as well. I also wanted to throw out Devin Achane and Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm holding both. Now, while there's a lot of hype around Achane because he literally put up over 1 million points in 1 week, generally, I think people are hesitant on 1 week blow-up performances that obviously aren't consistent and are basically based on touchdowns. But I think both have a top 12 running back in Dynasty in their range of outcomes, not to mention on a weekly basis, both of which have come very close to in Gibbs' case, or actually done twice in Devin Achane's case. Until the value settles down and their performance settles down, we're probably not going to see a window in either direction. So unless someone's willing to send multiple firsts to Devin Achane or Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm just holding, and throwing those kind of offers out to get either is probably a bad idea in Dynasty as well, though I do believe both have top 12 in the range of outcome. Now, last section, on a contending team, these are the players I'm looking at which rosters are on in my league, and what those teams might like in order to get them on my roster instead. Kyron Williams, he's a top 12 running back. He's been producing, so he might be a strange name on this list. But the only players that have similar red zone opportunities to him are Tony Pollard and Christian McCaffrey. Aaron Jones, just back from his injury last week, didn't do much with it, but it's Aaron Jones, and I think he will eventually. And so I'm always willing to send a second round pick for Aaron Jones, and you should probably be too if you're on a contending team. Running backs are mostly one-year propositions, and Aaron Jones is in the age range. You can't treat him like a Breece Hall or Javonte Williams. The other two, just to throw them out, Dameon Pierce and Najee Harris. Yeah, they're not great. They're providing maybe top 15 weeks at the running back position, but on a contending team that might be viable for you. Again, we're trying not to send first, especially for running backs, especially when we're making contending moves. But it's an option, I guess. But mostly I'm going looking at their rosters and seeing if there's any way I can improve their rosters to potentially get those startable weeks from Dameon Pierce and Najee Harris. Dameon Pierce first, because I kind of don't want to invest in the Pittsburgh offense for obvious Kenny Pickett-related reasons this year. Nico Collins is a wide receiver I have on this contending team list. Nico Collins is having a fantastic year. He's got like 18% of the team's routes, which is low for a wide receiver one, and I think we're going to continue to see him yo-yo in terms of actual production on a weekly basis. But on a contending team, that's really viable if you need that wide receiver flex option. I want in on the Houston offense with CJ Stroud this year. Nico Collins has been decent. I don't actually think he's got any long-term value. I think the team does more on that wide receiver depth chart. I don't think Nico Collins is exactly it, but he's definitely impressing this year, age 25, I think, 24 and a half, something like that. So he might be out of this contention because the guy in your roster the guy in your league thinks he has more viability in multiple years. But if he's on a non-contending team, and Nico Collins is on a lot of non-contending teams, they might be interested in trading from this window where he has some at least point-scoring ability, certainly for this year. So temperature checking that guy on a contending roster is a really interesting idea. I got rejected in all of my leagues, but maybe you'll have better luck. Jonnu Smith and Zach Ertz are the two tight ends I have on the contending team list. I don't want to start either, don't get me wrong, but if I need a tight end, or I need a tight end fill-in, or I need another flex option, depending on your league. Jonnu Smith is operating in the tight end role in Atlanta. Atlanta is a team that wants to run despite having two great pass catchers. And so the tight end position actually benefits in that situation. It's got a higher reception percentage because the target's a lower ADOT. Like Jonnu Smith, it's got like a 7 ADOT. And his role, while not great, is stable for this year. Jonnu Smith is actually a pretty decent player. I don't think he's Kyle Pitts level, but he's definitely good enough. Same thing with Zach Ertz. The Trey McBride takeover shows some signs of life here and there, but it's definitely kind of very, very slow and very, very unimpressive. And Zach Ertz just continues to be viable on a weekly basis. He's worth almost nothing in Dynasty for building teams because he's very old. And even on contending teams, they might see this just an opportunity to get rid of a guy who is on their roster just out of habit. I really like targeting those old tight ends. It's also why I got a lot on Austin Hooper, which hasn't worked out. But when you get a Zach Ertz on a contending team, you just roll him out. But you might well find he's on a team that's not, and they're interested in moving him. And he's viable on a week-to-week basis right now. The top 12 at tight end, while not great because you're really looking for that top 1 or 2, but it's pretty consistent at this point. Like 60 to 70% of the players ranking top 12 right now, like Zach Ertz, finished the season in the top 12. So it's pretty much worth going in on those kind of ranks right now at the position. Alright, gotta make these videos quicker and do less editing, I guess. But players I would be interested in selling on all Dynasty rosters to get any of these moves going instead of just trading picks, because we try to be a little hesitant with that activity. Brian Robinson. His production's been pretty good. I really like the story of Brian Robinson coming back from that very serious injury last year and doing well, but it's overly touchdown dependent. I don't think he has top 12 volume, but he's put up top 12 weeks, at least 2 of them. And if anyone's interested in getting that off my roster for something that's more stable or more value-like, I'd probably be trading him to get any of these moves done. Jordan Love, unlike CJ Stroud, he is depending way too heavily on that touchdown rate, and we've seen signs of it regressing already. He's scoring really well, but in all Dynasty situations, I'm interested in trading that away for for value, or moving it to another quarterback that I like a little better by adding a plus. If I can get CJ Stroud for Jordan Love plus, I'm doing that on any Dynasty team. It's the same with going for Joe Burrow. Jordan Love might be an interesting add to the guy that's got Joe Burrow. If they're interested in points, Joe Burrow isn't it right now. Jordan Love is. I'd be interested in trying to get that to work if they're interested in it at all. Justin Fields, been selling him all season. Gonna keep going even when he has good weeks. I don't like it. I'm not happy with it. There are windows here to take advantage of good games. On that note, Treylon Burks is on the... I've been trading him the last 2 weeks. I mentioned him in my column. Yeah, he could bite me again. I could be getting it wrong twice, but I've been holding on to Treylon Burks' hope for longer than I think is statistically viable because of narratives I spun about his usage and injuries, and we're still rolling those out right now. And so if there's any chance I can move him for like a first in value on most Dynasty rosters, in fact all Dynasty rosters, I just kind of want to move my chips somewhere else right now. Alright, that's all the notes I got for you this week. Well, it's not, actually. You can check out my column, you can check out my DLF article, or you can hit me up on Twitter and the Patreon Discord, or you can look at all the data from all the weeks and all the players. Like I said, in my pinned tweet, my pinned Patreon post, or hit me up any way you like, in the comments below maybe. Appreciate it. I'll see you next week. Hopefully I'll be able to get this edited and out to you before the Thursday game starts. Probably not, though.